Okay, so we're inching up close towards fall in 2022. We're barely over COVID and we're back at it with monkeypox. It's like humanity just can't catch a break, it seems. So, um, I don't know what's the situation for you in California, but over here, I think in the past month or so, there's a certain I don't know, a murmur sort of going on that, this might become uh, more serious than it is.
Mm.
Because monkeypox is quite similar to smallpox. It's just, I think I was looking it up, and uh, the only difference is that monkeypox results in swelling of the lymph nodes, in your armpits or your genitals and stuff like that. It's not deathly. The mortality rate is very low. Um, but scientists are kind of concerned that the virus might morph into something that's more um, severe, and so they want to limit it. Um, I think what I want to focus on with today's conversation on monkeypox is, yeah, it's definitely something that needs to be controlled, but the way the situation is being handled, especially with the LGBTQ community. I don't know if you've
It's
heard anything or seen the memes, but it's all over Instagram for sure.
yeah. Honestly, I think you've been helpful in helping me understand how far it's all those, especially to that extent. I knew it was something that was more predominant within the LGBT community, especially with gay men, and I had seen a few of these memes out there, but
Yeah,
I didn't understand a lot of it till I looked into it a bit, and I know that it is something that is. You were asking about California, and San
yeah,
Francisco is on high alert right now,
right.
and they basically said what you said, that this is currently what it is, but it could turn into something else. That's
Yeah,
probably what they might have said about COVID at some point, with the initial variants being what they were, and then you got more deadly variants down the line,
yeah,
and it is one of those things that I did see something about it being where monkeypox is not new. It's not like COVID in that sense, where it's not a novel virus. It has been
no,
around for a while, especially in Africa. I think it's obviously made its way here now, and people have actually said that people are not. Why was this reaction not there when we were talking about it happening in Africa? We know the answer to that, but it's just sad that it took the disease coming here for people to be on high alert and suddenly wanting vaccines and access to care for it. But I was surprised
I
that
mean,
it's not brand new.
so to your point, I will say it's kind of fair that there's more concern now because from what I read and I looked it up online, it's basically something that was named for the first time in 1958, which was like a pox-like disease. And it was mostly about 31,000 cases have been globally identified today. The difference is that it used to be something that's endemic and contained within the continent of Africa, and now it's the first time in history that it's kind of spread outside. And so I think that's where the fear comes in, where it's like, is it going to turn something more from an endemic disease to a pandemic?
Hmm.
That's kind of where the concern is. But still, it's fair, like, because it was relegated to not exactly a developed country, there was less focus on it, obviously. And now that it's spreading, that it's bringing in more focus. Um, Apart from the name, which is apparently being referred to as a bit racist, and the World Health Organization is considering renaming it and giving it like other syllables. The other part is just the requirements that are being put out by the government if you want to get the vaccine. Like I saw memes on it on Instagram and I did not believe it. But I mean, if you look up the the requirements by the CDC, which is the Canadian, Health Administration, it says that based on the Ontario Ministry of Health guidelines, only one dose is given. Clinics are for transgender men and women or cisgendered individuals who self identify as belonging to the gay, bisexual, and other men who have sex with men, and
Right.
at least one of the following: had a sexually transmitted disease, had two or more sexual partners in the last 21 days, or planning to, attended a bathhouse sex club, had anonymous casual sex in the past 21 days, or engaged in sex work.
That's very, very specific.
It's very specific, and I get it. I know that there is an apparent shortage of vaccines, so they're trying to focus on the community where it is spreading the most. But
Mhm.
for fuck's sake, like, has nobody learned anything from the AIDS pandemic? Like, how this is a PR disaster. Like, do you not have strategists who can word this better? Because let's be honest, this will lead to discrimination. It's already being called as the gay disease. So tomorrow, if I get monkeypox, which is visually very visible, it's
Mhm.
not something that like. So I call into my office and I'm like, "Hey, listen, I have it. I can't come in." And if I keep my identity, to myself, I'm not forced to, disclose that to my workplace. Then what happens is like this chatter in the office where it's like, "Oh, he must be gay," or you see the kind of stigmatization that goes on then. It's
Right.
like automatically I could be an absolute heterosexual, because let's clarify, this is not just a sexually transmitted disease.
Right.
This is not something that is specific to just gay men or just the LGBTQ community. Anyone can get it. There are reports of pregnant women and children getting it. It's literally like smallpox. If you come in touch with clothing and stuff that had lesions, or you could get it. And yes, sexually transmitted as well. That's just
Mhm.
one of the ways. But the fact that there's so much focus on just the LGBTQ community, it is creating a huge bias. And to me, that's problematic. I mean, have we not learned in the last 50 years how to handle these situations better?
Clearly not. I mean, it's new, but then it's also you're almost spreading the panic by adding if this is the wording that you're using, and also the information out there honestly is very much focused on the LGBT community. Like that's how it's being presented
Yeah,
on multiple forums. Like that's just how they're talking about it. So it almost makes it seem like it's going to stay within that community, we don't have to worry about it, which is not true. It's just, and then it
absolutely
becomes a
not.
case of like, oh, let them be over there and handle. Then it's like kind of like how it was endemic to Africa. Let's keep it endemic to a certain
This
community because,
community, and it's not going to affect us. It's just
yeah,
such misinformation. Like, for example, AIDS was considered to be a gay disease for the longest time.
right,
Yes, this community was, definitely affected by it much more than the heterosexual community, but it doesn't mean that you can't get it. I
right,
mean, even today I hear this nonsense where it's like, "Oh, I'm not gay, so I don't need to wear a condom." Like, dude, are you for real?
yeah,
uh,
it's
so uh, so I mean, this bias is creating two problems. One is, people who don't belong to the LGBTQ community think that they're safe, so they don't feel the need to kind of take precautions. That's one. Two is within the LGBTQ community, because people who fear this discrimination at their workplace or at home, no matter, you don't know what situation they're in, even if they do get it, they're not going to, you know inform people. They probably will still go about their regular work, because the disease, for some people, it's pretty drastic. You'll probably get a lot of pimples across all of your body, not pimple but lesions or whatever growths.
mhm,
And for some people it's just a blister.
mhm,
It's not that visible, so you can go get away with it by not confining yourself and isolating and just going about your normal activity, because you are in fear that if you tell your office or any other place that you work that I can't come in for this reason, you're going to be discriminated against.
right. And it doesn't have to be overt, outward discrimination. It could be subtle, just the fact that
It,
your people are avoiding you. No one really wants to have a meeting with this person because
yeah,
and yeah, like it just becomes talk of the town, which it shouldn't. It shouldn't be the center of attention of like, or it shouldn't even be like the thing that describes you as the, oh, that person is this. Like it shouldn't be the
yeah.
first thing that comes to mind. It's just, and you were saying something about it being, you're talking about the effect of it in India specifically, or how it's affecting.
Right. So I was trying to research and bring up articles, and then because I knew the discrimination, this conversation is growing louder.
Right.
But Bloomberg apparently has this entire article where it's like are being driven underground because of the anti-gay stigma, and it's like patients refuse to get tested because of fear of homophobia or violence, and then the World Health Organization chief is warning that discrimination will make the outbreak harder to stop.
Right.
Obviously,
If you don't have,
people are not going to isolate. They're not going to get the vaccine. It's just going to spread.
yeah, people are not going to
So
come forward and even want to find out if there's a way to, prevent spread, or because there's suddenly you're putting a shame associated with getting sick,
exactly.
and that's not how anyone is going to get treated. If there's an inherent shame about getting it, then that's no one's going to want to volunteer to come forward
No,
and ask for help.
but I mean, to me, it's just listen. Again, I'm going to reiterate what I said in the beginning. I understand. I understand why the government is trying to be so specific. There is a shortage of vaccines, not because this is new. I mean, the vaccine is basically the a sort of it's similar to the smallpox vaccine.
Mm.
So it's not something that is like COVID where there had to be a lot of research and stuff. It's just that it wasn't expected, so there is a shortage of these vaccines, and as time goes, possibly we'll try to cover our base. But for now, because there's a limited number of vaccines, the government is trying to focus on the community that is spreading it the most. I understand that. I just wish there was a smarter way of handling this and bringing in your PR and your strategist and actually doing your goddamn job instead of repeating a nightmare that was the AIDS epidemic.
Yeah, I do wonder if they actually consulted, people from the LGBTQ community as far as the wording, or just wanting to, because if you like it makes more sense that if you are trying to target a certain demographic
Right.
as far as like the effectivity of this vaccine effort, you'd want someone, a representative from that community, to come forward and be the voice, or at least help you word things better so that people are more likely to want to come and get that vaccine and not have a
Yeah. I
shame
mean,
associated with getting it.
yeah, and at work, it's like, I mean, where I work, I mean, people are very nice and stuff, but there people are definitely belong to an older generation. um, Not a much of diversity. Very nice people, but at the same time, I don't know how they would react to say if I call them up and be like, "Hey, I got monkeypox," and then they do their research. It's like, "Oh, um, he must be gay." Like, is that how somebody outs himself by through a disease?
Yeah, apparently, this is. I hope not. I mean, I hope no one has to do that. But the reality is, if this doesn't change, if this is the way they're going to word it, or this is the access that people are going to have to vaccines, then maybe, and that shouldn't be the
Yeah.
case. I hope not.
But no, I just wanted to bring this up because I think this is an important conversation to have. And I'm hoping that something shifts. So far, nothing. And I know, especially in Canada, considering how friendly we're supposed to be, it was kind of a shocker when I saw the requirements. I
Yeah,
was not expecting that.
I'm afraid to see
So,
what's going to come out over here. I'm sure it's already out there as far as the government reaching out to people, and I'm kind of concerned if that's Canada's approach so far.
right.
Yeah,
You can only imagine what's going to happen in more of the, well, in the
yeah,
conservative states within the US.
right.
Cool. All right. Thanks for bringing this up.
Yeah, definitely. Like we will leave links to the articles in the description for
Absolutely,
people
yes.
who want access to this information. Again, information is going to be important. These are all new things, and things will change over the next few weeks or months.
For sure.
So please, yeah, try and keep updated, and this will be a good starting point for you.
Yeah. Stay safe.
Yeah.